Okay, good evening, everyone. May we all feel in peace in this beautiful place with beautiful people and such a generous um, comments on Neil's part, which has been our friend for a long time, and we truly appreciate the friendship and the cooperation that we do among each other in the Spiritist centers, as well as in our, particular lives, which makes us brothers and sisters. Thanks, everyone. Thank you for inviting me tonight to say some words. And tonight we're gonna talk, have a conversation, reflect on the heart. I'm not a cardiologist, not a doctor of the heart. Okay, just to make it clear for you. But we're gonna talk about our spiritual heart, something about listen to the call of our heart, the inner voice. We're gonna have some pictures, some slides. All right, and just to start, I brought a video for us, so we don't start too much of the thought now, just like some art and hard thing. I'm gonna put a video here, and then we're gonna start talking a little. All right, let just get in here. Okay. Get in there. Okay, it's just to start a little bit, feeling our heart, feeling this part of us that in today's life is hard to stop and just be there in our heart. This video, it was made by the Institute of the Heart Math Institute, which, by the way, I brought some of the slides based on the research that they are doing in this institute. It's a beautiful work that they do over there. It's a scientific research, beautiful scientists and great ones. They have research concerning our hearts, the spiritual heart, and how listen to our heart has been improving our health in many ways, improving our life, quality of life. And then we're gonna bridge some of the informations that they produced in this Heart Map Institute. They have some books, some booklets. I can bring you later if you want some of them. We're gonna bridge some of those information with the Spiritist teachings, so we can see how much more we can benefit from our potentials. Especially today, everything's more is in our head, right? We tend to rationalize a lot. It's like life turned out to be a math equation. Everything has to be measured this way. If it doesn't match perfectly, it looks like it's wrong. Especially with the mainstream science lately that points more to the brain, to the mind, forgetting a little bit of our heart to listen to this call that for so long has been crying out. Maybe that's why we have this, so much problem with the heart, so much physical problem, by the way, because in some way our heart has been ignored a lot, or misunderstood, or forgotten. It's time for us to rescue this thing. Because since the ancient times, especially in the ancient times, the heart were the main part of our physical and mental thing. In the old times, in the ancient times, they even thought that the heart had a function as the brain, because at that time they didn't, had the information that we have today about the functions that the brain have to, to manage the body and so forth. If we go to, for example, like in the scriptures, there is like more than 800 times in the scripture that the heart is mentioned. And less than 300 times were mentioned the mind. Because for those ancient times, for those people, the heart were something very central, very meaningful to life. We are not here, of course, to say that we have to forget our brain and totally embrace solely the heart. But we are here to balance both, because it's been so much ignored that sometimes we misunderstand the message. We don't train this inner voice that comes out to saying something to us. But because our brain, our mind is not used of it, it just ignore it, or just give a little time, or for our brain it doesn't make sense. How many times there were those inner voice, that the voice that come from the heart and say, do this. But our brain said, no, it doesn't make sense at all doing this. I'm feeling this. It doesn't make sense to me. And then we ignore it. And later on we regret, because we should have done that inner call that the heart told us to do. But because our brain couldn't really rationalize it, put it in a black and white as the brain could do, we ignore it. But if we have stopped it to think about it, to analyze the message that this voice were telling me, maybe we could do much better decisions in our life, much better and wiser ones we have done previously in our lives, and hopefully for the future. In all the gospel, for example, is full of passages talking about the heart, as we're going starting here for us tonight. Oops. Okay. Here, for example, Jesus said, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God." So Jesus was very often talking about the heart. Is he talking about the physical heart, this pump that pumps the blood to circulate and maintain the life in our body? No, he was talking about a spiritual feeling, the spiritual side of the heart. He was talking about this inner voice that we have. Purifying our heart, he wanted us to purify our feelings, our sentiments. The purer are us, the better we can see God. Which God? The creation that God made. Because every now and then that we get better, we see different things that we didn't see before. But much better than that, we see our inner God. Because full of devices, full of pride and prejudice, for example, we can't see the God that we are, the divine being that we are, and so we consequently are behaving in life as we are not the sons and daughters of God that should behave accordingly. So Jesus was right when he said, purify yourself so you could see yourself in your true essence. Purify this inner you. And then you're going to see yourself in a different way, and as of course in the outside, the outer world, and your brothers and your sisters in a different way as Jesus wants us to see. We brought this to the beginning because Jesus said this passage like 2,000 or more years ago. And now I have some of the slides talking about here, so we're going to come back to that part of Jesus later on. Our heart is uniquely positioned to act as the global coordinator in the body's symphony of functions to synchronize the system as a whole. Even physiologically, say, our physical heart is central to our body. If our heart gets sick, our body perishes, right? If it stops working, of course, the spirit has to leave the body because, without the heart, we can transplant the heart, do some work, but without a heart, we can't work. It's a central physical thing. All the other organs of our body cannot work without the heart. We can take some of the other organs and we still can function in life, right? Without a hand or other organs inside of us, we can take them out, make a surgery, but the heart not. It tells us that this thing is very, very, very important to us. And why so much we forget about it? Why so much we neglect the message that is telling us? Every day there is the message coming out to us. Adrian, do this. Listen to me. But most of the time we are truly afraid to hear what the heart, this inner me, wants to say. Most of the time the brain are saying, you have no say on the matter. I am here in charge. We forget that the both should work in partnership, in collaboration, in cooperation to each other. Feelings, analysis that our brain does. And so many times we are caught in situations, in bad situations, in our particular life, because we hadn't time, a little time to check what's going on. Other times, our heart, our inner being are so overwhelmed by the stresses created by the mind that it's confused. We don't know anymore what to feel. We feel something and then later on we feel different things. We don't know anymore. And sometimes even the heart get wrong. Get it wrong. And say, I really, really, really want this thing. It's just the thing that I feel for it. But for so long time, we haven't given the chance for it. And it makes the mistake. Very often the heart makes the mistake too. Because it's been overwhelmed. Our inner being is being overwhelmed with the stresses, the informations, and the mistakes that the brain, our mind is doing, our rational thing is doing. We have in Spiritism that we have the rational faith, right? That we have to study, to have the explanation for everything. But in some way we mistake a little bit. Because we think that we have to have, of any cost, explanation for everything. We do have explanation. The Spiritism and has explanation. But some explanation we don't have yet. Will come in the future. For now we have to believe. For now we have to trust. There's a lot of things in our life, despite all the explanations that we have in the books, in the Spiritism, we can't find it. We know that it exists, but yet I have to trust. Oh my God, I have to trust. Something will turn all right. Something will happen all right. I don't know how. There are explanations for it, but I don't have it. It means that sometimes we have only to trust. And when we go to that, is in here that we have to look for, right? Sometimes the brain, our mind, is not enough for us to rely on. We have to stop and think, should I do this? Should I not? The heart says, yes or no, but the brain sometimes can't do it. Because even with the high-tech informations, all the high information of spirituality and Spiritist teachings, we can't have it all yet. And how we listen to this inner voice wiser than we have been doing. That's what we're going to be discussing along the way. There are researches showing that it is possible for the magnetic signals radiated by the heart of one individual to influence the brain rhythm in another. This research has shown, for example, that the magnetic field that my heart radiates can influence your brain. And by the way, it's influencing your brain now. The rhythm in your brain can be influenced by the magnetic field radiated by your heart, by my heart. Because as far as it has measured, this magnetic field emanating by my heart, the chakra in my heart, can be measured as far as 5 feet away from myself. It means that when we meet one another in here, in the Spiritist Center, in day-to-day life, we are being influenced by one another. I gonna influence you by the thing that's going in my heart. And if my heart is full of sadness, pride, and so other things, the other people around me are gonna influence their thoughts. Their mental state will be influenced. That's why if we come back to purify yourself, it means that this magnetic field emanating by me will benefit not only myself, but the people around myself. Sometimes we wonder why people are walking away from me or getting close and sympathetic to me. Sometimes could be that this emanation, this magnetic field coming out of me is not that good or so weak that can't be felt by no one. Right? So this is scientific and this is measured in laboratory. It can be replicated. There's the book and the Institute of Heart Math have done this experiment. So if we take in mind that we are very often influencing in one another, and then we could take measures, little measures that could improve our relationship in the Spiritist Center, relationship in our work, relationship at home, just by, taking care of some thing that related to our heart, for example. It was found evidence of heart-to-heart synchronization across subjects, lending credence to the possibility of heart-to-heart biocommunication. This is another research showing, like it shows in here, that can have a synchronization, a match between individuals. It's like if we are tuned in the same vibration, emanation of energy, we are much more prone to work better together, resolve situations, problems, grow better together, and collectively, like in group, in here, if everyone is willing, and are working their lives in more or less the same direction as we doing better in ourselves, learning to be better people, of course, these feelings, this magnetic field are more or less in the same vibration. It means that we are synchronizing each other. And that's why we see some groups, they are working more harmoniously together than others. There are other groups that they are totally in dysfunctional, right? They are fighting, their opinion never matches. Despite that, sometimes we see that their point of view is basically the same thing. They are discussing the same thing and they want the same thing. And they can't understand each other, right? Because it's despite the mind, the brain is the same thing, the heart is not. This energy is not synchronizing. It's not synchronizing at all because they are not stopping at all. They don't care what their inner being are telling them, are wanting for them, right? It is good to know that those things can be proved. And they have some, I'm not bringing here some of the techniques that they teach in the Heart Math Institute, but simple things can improve those things. And we have in the Spiritism, the Spiritist Center with the passes, the prayer, and everything that will improve in those synchronization, this, harmonization of our heart. Okay. So the main thing for us here is to realize, is to be aware of the need that we have, that the brain and heart should be working together. It's not about one only. It's not about all the time, the heart and going for it. I feel that my heart's telling me, let me do this. No. Sometimes we have, especially in romantic situations, in romantic situations, the heart sometimes can be so overwhelmed, right? That can be, many people do a very bad mistakes. There's this scientist, I forgot her name, she studies the science of love. She said in romantic love, for example, our brain has some three dysfunctions. It means that this romantic love is sometimes not the heart itself that got sick, but the brain. The brain is not working properly, and then the heart is too much overwhelmed, right? And then the person become blind because the brain is not being able enough to codify the message from the heart. Maybe the heart is telling you not to get together with that certain person, but your brain, because has some problems, mainly three problems, the functions in your brain is not codifying the information enough, and then we make those decisions. Sometimes it's better for us when either of the brain or the heart gets something, is to stop, to think about it, to exchange information, and then make decisions together. We have the intuition, right? The intuition is something that happens to us over and over during the day, even when we least expect comes the intuition. And then we're going to talk here a little bit about intuition, which is something that I see as, at least the people that I know, most of them, including me, ignore the intuitions and regret most of the time. I don't know if you have regrets about not listening to the intuition that you had about something, especially. The first type of intuition is often called implicit knowledge or implicit learning. So this kind of intuition, I'm gonna bring here, of course, the Spiritist think about this intuition, is the implicit thing that comes from inside of us, is something that we have learned in the past. In this lifetime is according to psychology. But for us as spiritists, we can have some intuition because we have lived, multiple, numerous lifetimes in the past, and we have this baggage, this huge amount of knowledge that we bring inside of us. And when we see the environment, the experience that we are living now, some of the things that we live in now can remind us of something that we have lived a couple of years ago or couple of times ago. And there's thinking inside of me, this is not right. Or this is right. I don't know why. It is because you have lived a similar situation in the past. You just don't remember it. But your intuition, this information that you carry within you, is reminding you. Don't go in this experience again. Because in the past, you gone it bad. It was bad for you. Now, think again before you do it. Or go for it because it was good in the past. It was something that you learned a lot. And there's this implicit thing. And then we have this a lot because we have a huge luggage. That's why, especially in the situations that we are called to decide the important thing in our life, relationships, job, family, etc., let us maybe stop and think, did I live situations like this in the past? Something similar has passed with me that I can recall, that I can remember, that I can feel in a way that I can make a better decision in this right moment. Not just go and do the decision right away so fast. Because and then we can't access this inner thing, this inner information, this intuition that is coming out of me to help us to really add up to solve our problems. The second type of intuition is what we call energetic sensibility. The energetic sensibility is, we all know that the world, the universe itself is full of energy. All our thoughts, feelings, and everything is emanating and is stored in the universe itself, and we have the possibility, and we have ways to assess this information, this field of information, this field of energy. So whatever place that we are collecting this information, and we are codifying them in our favor. We codifying them to make our life, the way we live. So in places like this, for example, we are collecting, our sensibility are collecting information here. And then unaware, of course, this is unconscious, is coming out an intuition to us, to think of something, to feel this way or feel that way. And suddenly sometimes thoughts come to our mind that we, oh my God, what this thought comes to my mind now? Like from some years ago, 2, 3, 4 years ago. Why? Because the campus of information that we had, the field of information that we have here, I capture all this, and my brain itself codified and came up with certain information. So it means for us, since we have this possibility, assessing this field of information, we have to keep in mind that whatever place that we are, or wherever people that we are, around them, we're gonna assess this. If we have that in mind, if we keep that in mind, when we are in place like this, that make the best use of the things that are being produced here. Or places that are not so welcoming. How can we defend ourselves, the field of that we have, for example, go to a place that is so hostile, instead of capturing this field that will damage my sensibility, how can we defend ourselves? So, is to focus, for example, in good thinking, prayer, in meditation, and so forth. So, if we have that in mind, we'll be more prepared, whatever place that we are, to benefit from the places or defend ourselves from the places or field of information that is not good for us. It means that in this moment now, we are absorbing the information that every one of us is emanating. We are contributing here for this field of information that's emanated. It means that I am being affected by the information of that you are emanating, Leo, Danielle, you, and everybody. It means that in this final moment that we go home, we in some way, metaphorically say, we are a part of each other's. Because I capture a little bit of you and you capture a little bit of me. I'm carrying out of here this thing. And this produces some sensation, trigger some thoughts in me, trigger some feelings inside of me, because it's a new information that might match something that I carry with me or may not. And then it comes to my brain, to my mind, to make sense of it. But if we don't take this, seriously, we override all this. I just go to that place, doesn't happen anything. But deeply, we are, in a way, absorbed a lot. We just don't know what to do with it, and then we ended up wasting a lot of the good things that we could have absorbed before or done before. The third type of intuition is non-local intuition. That is what they call non-local intuition. Is the information that we receive from non-local places, like from other places. Can be very close to some other room, or from other country, from other state, or from other other country, maybe from other planet, but just keep in Earth for now. Okay, is that's non-local intuition. It means that, for example, especially parents, mothers, for example, they sense things that can be happening far away with, especially with their sons or daughters, right? I'm sensing there's something wrong going on with my daughter in Brazil. I don't see her for a couple weeks, but now I feel something. It means that this mother is capturing this information, this field, this electromagnetic field sent by her daughter. It's an intuition that your heart is capturing. And it is a research set, and it's very advanced research, that many informations that comes to us is first captured by the heart, not by the brain. Is first captured by the heart and then sent to the brain. Not captured by the brain and sent to the heart. And even some information is just worked out in the heart with no need of the brain itself of it. Because it's said that in our heart there is this little brain. It's like our heart has a little brain, can keep a little independence of the brain. It means this in this non-local intuition, our heart have received it first. That's why sometimes the brain cannot make sense of it, right? I felt this. Somebody is gonna call me, but our brain tells me they don't have my phone number. I don't know them very much. The brain can't find any reason at all or make sense at all that this information that my heart is telling. And a couple hours later, I received a call or the news that happens, some news that somebody else had an accident or something good have happened, like, I don't know, get married or something good. But many times the brain can't have the information right, but the heart tells it is right. And some people even discredit, no, you crazy, how come? Especially mothers, especially mothers, people say, no, you just think that moms they have these feelings. You're not thinking straight. But the mothers or some other people keep like, no, I'm feeling that. I'm sure that I am right. Because there is this other, I could say, intelligence inside of us telling us. We can't make sense of it. We can't rationalize it. But it's real. It is real. But over with all the demands that we have, we don't have time for it, right? We don't have. Why we have all these potentials and not make a good use of it? We have at least these three kind of intuition that, Kardec say, for example, that is premonition, this mediumship, that we have the mediumship of intuition and so forth. We have tremendous potentials to get all this information And just because our brain is not sufficient evolved enough to rationalize it, it doesn't mean that it can't work in our favor. It can't help us. It can help us a lot. Because our psychological system are designed to maintain stability and resist change, returning to familiar set points gives us a feeling of security, while remaining in a familiar territory causes unrest, anxiety, fear, etc. Just working my time here. It is interesting because we feel safer in familiar places, right? Physical places, and here extending more to spiritual and mental and places. We don't want change because we are afraid of change. We are so like in the mind stuff that we are afraid of changing, because it's unfamiliar to us to listen to what our inner voice are telling me. No, I prefer to stay as I am, thinking straight logically. If it doesn't make sense, it's not good for me. Because we are afraid of this. Unfamiliar territory came out to us. But we have to keep in mind that we are this evolving being. There's a law of progress, as in the Spiritist books is telling us. We are constantly evolving. We are unfolding possibilities and potentials every day more. It means that we're gonna face changes. Unfamiliar things will come to us to as we make them familiar to us. And in the other side, we face a problem. We are despite being in bad situations, suffering this or that, but because it's familiar. I better be in bad situation, but in familiar places than in unfamiliar places, but better. Because for many lifetimes, I've been doing the same thing. I've been in dysfunctional relationship. I don't try different ones. I've been in the patterns of thoughts and feeling that I carry within me for a long time. But because it's familiar, it is with me for a long time, I'm secure with it. I'm suffering a bit, but I know how to function with this mess, with this web of things. I function on it because I know the ways despite it's dark. Yeah. We see people sometimes, they get from one problem to another, from one problem, and all them are very much the same. Very much the same. They complain, oh my God, how can I be in this problem? And then they walk to another problem which is very much the same. But those problems, why they go from one to another in the same? Because it's very familiar to them. And despite it's been bad, they feel secure there. They know already how that problem works. They're suffering and work and so forth. Yes. And sometimes their reincarnation from one to another is basically alike. The same problems, the same thing that they had in previous ones, they repeat in this one now. And if they don't try new things, learning, taking risks sometimes, they will be in the same relationships or other things in life, or the problems, the same. Because they feel security despite it being in so bad position. It is like in all realms of our life. It's not like being irresponsible, like trying, risking things here and there. No. But it's being cautious, but walking forward, learning new things, learning who we really are. There are just innumerable books of Spiritists that teaches us how much we are, how much possibilities we have at hand. Why am I in the same very narrow problem for so long time if I have possibility to get out of it? And it is in me. It's not elsewhere. It's not in the books. It's not in other country. Right? It's just about assessing these possibilities that I have, these potentials, the cure for some illnesses, the cure for something that I care in my mind, in my heart, or so forth. It is in us. But we have to move on. We have to change. And talking about the heart is something that we have to try and work. Sustained positive emotions such as appreciation, love, or compassion are associated with highly ordered or coherent patterns in the heart rhythm. So this positivity, there's faith, good faith in good things, helps us maintain a positive balance and a coherence. It means this coherence is that when the brain is working more in harmony with the heart, even the heart beats, the physical thing of our body is working more in coherence. It's not like in dysfunctional patterns that will create us imbalance physically and imbalance spiritually and emotionally and so forth. And if we keep working, it doesn't have to be something huge. As we do in the Spiritist Center, for example, some people come weekly. It's something sustained. They're gonna create like a little coherence in there because their mind, their heart, their physical being is being immersed in this habit and will create something positive for you and for us. And they teach, like for example, very quick technique is just you breathe in and breathe out, and focus. We can do it a little at the end. Focus your mind in your heart for a while. And we can ask, think for example, hi, my dear friend heart, what do you want from me? How can you teach me today? Can you have or do you have any suggestion for the matter, for the problem, for the thing that I'm living? Hello, how are you today? Friends that we are. You're gonna see how much since I did the first time talking about it, I had done some practice, and it's amazing how much it improves us. Very simple thing as this conversation. Oh, sorry. That we can do a little later. Some meditation, for example. I'm gonna do it at the end. This great love is the divine essence, and from beginning to the end you possess in the depths of your soul the flame of that sacred fire. The greatest sustenance of all creature is love. It is the divine bread of souls. The sublime sustenance of hearts is in Oslar. It is love, and love it flows from our heart, right? If we see, for example, all the paintings, the pictures of the saints and the higher evolved spirits, we see that the light and everything is coming from their heart, not always from the brain itself, right? And even some research, they have very broad research that they talked about, and we have explained in this in Spiritism, that this emanation that we do, that they call the global connections. Our emanation of the heart is even influencing this global magnetic field that regulates the climate, regulates the earth itself. They are working on that. They put in like measurements across the globe to measure it, and there are a lot of volunteers working on that. It's a very broader thing. It's just so as we can have a picture that's a little us, that we say one being, which is us, can make so huge impact if we get together. And the Spiritism tells us that this energy, that we emanate by our thoughts, by feelings, they influence, they create a reality in the spiritual world. Literally a reality that can be felt, that can sometimes be seen by the spirits. That our globe, our nature, sometimes we think that just the physical pollution is destroying nature. The cars, the other things that we can think about it, garbage. But feelings, emotions, our behaviors emanate this toxic thing in the universe and influence, despite that we don't have any research, but there is a logic, if we go deeply and study spiritism, we can see that it destroys, it affects nature itself. The climate can be even affected with go in Genesis, for example, when the Spirit talks about the influence of the spirits and the work of the spirits on climate thing. That's something that we have to think about it, because we are in some way more important than we can think about. We can either influence for good or for bad, and we take these two sides for granted. No, I'm not doing anything bad. That you are. You don't not being aware of it. And sometimes we are doing good and then we are not aware of it as well. But if we are emanating love, if we're emanating good things, of course, we are doing good things to nature and people. How many minutes I have more, Liu? Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind." It means that our mind can love too, right? Not only the heart. It means that our thoughts can be loving. We have to love God or love people, love nature, because whatever thing that we love in God in extension. And it means that our brain, our mind can love as well. If we take this here as this passage, love God of all your heart and all your mind. Okay. A water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the heart. Is in Proverbs 27:19. Just another one. Cool. Above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. It's there in Proverbs as well, 4:23. It is like I brought just these three here, but if you just type there in Google and all the scriptures, you're gonna collect like hundreds of this kind here, talking about this the heart. That's not the physical one repeating again. It makes sense of our inner life, of inner us. We tend I have, in the Spiritist Center, the fraternal counseling or the spiritual counseling that we do very often. And I just gonna give you an example. For example, people, they come for help a lot, for different reasons. But they are everything is in their mind. They don't crack themselves to open to hear their inner needs and hear what is really good for them. Long ago, not long ago, but a year or so, I had this friend. Actually, I knew him. He came for counseling, and he knew a lot about the spirituality. He even knew a lot about Spiritism. He knew all he had to do to get out of his problem. Yeah. And he told me he was in a deep pond already. He had, I don't know what to do. I'm very much depressed. Deep depression. My relationship is not going well. Everything, my job is not good. Everything was really bad. I was like listening to his, accounts, to his problems, and so forth. But he didn't stop. And he went on to talk about the problem of the humanity. He thought, oh, that's why people have depression, because this or that and that. He diagnosed all kinds of problems. He said even things that goes in the Spiritist center, obsession, there's obsession involved, and so forth and so forth. At the end, I thought to myself, why haven't you got out of your problem with all you had, everything? You mean you knew exactly what to do. But he kept all in the mind. He thought that rationalizing, thinking about what is, you have to be done, things will be working fine. And then I counseled him. I told him that what he could do, and that what he agreed very much. He knew that what he had to be doing. But I just, realized that all it was in his mind, thinking, rationalizing things, trying to make sense of things. And then we established a program for him. He never came back. He never came back, and he's still in the same problem, even worse. But because he couldn't stop. He couldn't stop and ask his inner voice, what's going on with me? I know thousands of things, laws and spirituality, but I don't know what's going on inside of me. I don't know what my heart is asking me to do. Maybe it's to be more loving with my kid or my wife, being more respectful to someone, pray more, do a meditation, do this or do that. But he hadn't done that. He hadn't done that because he thought that having the logic for everything, the explanation for everything, it was easy for him. It was a kind of a protection for him. And it is a protection for a lot of people, millions of people on earth. Because we think that we have the explanation for the problem. And explaining for the people all the time, even our problems, sometimes we explain people, I feel in this, and then it's because yesterday I didn't pray, there is this spirit that I saw, or in the Spiritist center, and we think that if we explain people this, we are good. We are cured. We are healed, but no. It's just sometimes a protection that we do. Sometimes what we have to do is to stop and ask really ourselves, what's going on? Maybe it's this past that I have that I don't make sense of it. Maybe it's a repetition of the same mistake that I done in other reincarnation, that now I'm feeling this uneasy feeling in me, telling me to change, but I can't recognize, I can't make sense of it. But it's bothering me a lot. Or this anxiety that I don't know what is coming from. Maybe it's this intuition telling me that I'm in an environment and I'm capturing a lot of the information, a lot of the emanations that I can't manage. It's overflowing my system that I cannot manage it, and then it's causing me this unrest, this anxiety. Or sometimes, there is this loved one or not loved connected with me mentally, that is, I'm collecting their information, their magnetic field from far away, and I'm feeling so sad suddenly. I'm feeling, that there's something wrong, and I don't stop to ask those things, and then I go on in my life, and everything is piling up, and sometimes we see, and we are sick. We are sick, and in despite being in environment that could be helping and healing us, we are not. We taking these books here and reading them back and forth, and we say to ourselves, I have explanation for this, I have explanation for that. Well, I don't have the explanation yet. I have read thousands of books, but not yet a very perfect explanation for my problem, or for my life, or for that matter. Who told you that you have to have the perfect explanation for a thing? Maybe the explanation that you need is inside of you. Right? Your heart is crying out sometimes. And today on, it's time for us to make peace between two, okay? I guess my time is about to be over, or is over already, right? I like uh, to just finalize with a little meditation that I was inspired to do today, for us to assess and go on in our life using the most that we have. Do we have a little music, by the way? Sorry. Well, okay, yeah. You can focus your attention in your heart. You can even put your hand in your heart if you want to. Feel free to feel more comfortable the best way possible for you. You can even listen the beats that this wonderful heart is doing. For so long he's doing his work in order to maintain life, in order to help you cope and evolve. Let us take this moment and feel hi, my dear friend heart. This is me, the brain, the mind. For so long, I wanted to tell you those things that I'm gonna tell you now. First of all, brother heart, I would like to ask you forgiveness and apologize, because you have been doing a wonderful job for so long, for many ages. You've been my silent partner. I ignored you so many times. I didn't understand your message yet. How many times, for example, when I saw nature and its wonders, color, beauty. I thought with myself how wonderful I am to make sense of such a wonder, such a beauty in nature. How many times I got these encounters with other human beings, and I saw in their eyes their humanity, their beauty. How many times I made sense of their potentials, and I thought with myself that I was the king, that I were in charge, that I knew everything. What I didn't know, that behind, silently, you were there, heart, working with me, supported me all along the way. I just couldn't see. I just weren't aware of your support, of your position. But tonight, in this moment, I want you to know and accept my apology. And I want you to be my partner for life, that we can share, that we can work together, that we can evolve and be better together. Please, dear heart, accept my invitation, accept my apology, please. Dear brain, dear mind, I don't have nothing to forgive you, because I know and always knew that you do and you did what you thought were best. Yet you had no intention to hurt me, to make me feel less. I was just doing my job according to what I was assigned for. But by the way, I would like to thank you so much, my dear friend Brain, for helping me making sense of the things that I feel, the informations that I receive. It's not always that I can work them and use them to help me or help my brothers and sisters. And I want very much to have you as my dear partner for life. And I do accept your apologies, your invitation. And I promise that I'll work very hard to make you proud. I work very hard that we both succeed and make the spirit evolve for God and do his task on earth, accomplish his mission better. Working together, we're gonna make progress on earth, bring beauty, love, peace, understanding, fraternity, all the wonders of earth. We have our mark together. For this night on, we are officially partners forever. You can just breathe in and breathe out and feel this peace in you. the struggles of the past is gone. You're holier. Your future struggles and tasks, you're more prepared and enlightened. And we share with one another these streams of energy, connecting every one of us, enlightening and shining, illuminating this space and spreading to community, to the planet Earth, our homes, everywhere. We together are spreading the goodness that we emanate with the good spirits, with Jesus our brother of all times. You can repeat this visualization as many times as you want in your home, in different ways. Sometimes maybe congratulating your heart, or asking suggestions, or the brain or mind, peacefully working for the best of you. Okay, you can put the light on, not.
Adriano, thank you. Your message have allowed us to rethink about our endings. And what we would like to do tonight is to ask Aloysio and to serve the water. And we will serve the water now. Instead of having questions and comments as we usually do. Why? Because the message is about the heart, right? So if we, stop now and ask questions or make comments, we'll be rationalizing. So let's at least demonstrate that we learned the lesson, and let us continue with this idea, so we can finalize tonight. We will go ahead and have the announcements, obviously. But I want to remind you, it's okay, because we will have time with Adriano if you have a question or comment that you can ask or talk to him as we will have our dinner tonight. So let us stay put. Let us think about this, the meditation, what we learned from it, as Aloysio and I will be serving the water.